Hi cheese friends! Today's cheese making tutorial is a delightful, mild and creamy German cheese with a fantastic English translation. Butter cheese. Who can go wrong with that? Well, for my German viewers out there, I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. So I'm going to try to bring in an expert to help me pronounce it. But in the meantime, come into my kitchen and let me show you how to make butterkase, butter cheese. For this recipe, you'll need 3 gallons of pasteurized, non-homogenized milk.
Ooh, do I smell milk?
While I'm pouring the milk, let me show you my setup. These are my cheese making supplies that have been sanitized or sterilized, and I have them on cloths that I only use for cheese making. I have everything at the ready to include my press, so it's right there when I need it, and I have my draining mat, my cheesecloth, my drying rack station ready to go. Everything's been sanitized and set up. It just makes the process a whole lot easier.
What you making?
If you're using a gas stove, it's easy to control the heat. Otherwise, use a double boiler setup. Heat the milk to 86 degrees Fahrenheit or 30 Celsius. While the milk is heating, add a half a cup of either half and half cream or whipping cream. One of the features of this cheese is its creamy consistency, so I'm going to boost it along just a little bit.
I think there's a ball under there.
When the desired temperature is reached, you can turn off the heat. It's time to acidify the milk. We'll be using 2 cultures today. The first is cultured buttermilk. This is 3/4 of a cup of room temperature cultured buttermilk. You can get it at your local grocery. And just pour it into the milk. Stir that in for 1 minute. Cultured buttermilk is a mesophilic culture, and it does its best work at lower temperatures, like the 86 degrees we have the milk at right now.
Happy, happy, happy.
The second culture is a thermophilic culture, and you'll use 3/8 of a teaspoon. 1/8, 2/8. I use these tiny spoons for this. They're very handy. 3/8.
Ooh, a secret passage.
Go ahead and stir it into the milk for 1 minute.
Look, Lisa, a magic trick.
Once you've stirred it into the milk, you can put the lid on the pot, and we'll let this milk acidify for 45 minutes.
8-ball, corner pocket.
Milk retains its heat much better than water, so it shouldn't be a problem to maintain the 86 degrees for 45 minutes. But if you're concerned about it, just put a towel over it, insulate it, make sure the stove is off, and you'll be just fine. It's time to turn up the heat. Heat the milk to 105 Fahrenheit. While the milk is heating, you can prepare the other ingredients. Pour 1/4 of a cup of non-chlorinated water and add 3/4 of a teaspoon of calcium chloride to the first beaker. You'll need this because the recipe is using pasteurized milk. Rinse your spoons before you use them for the rennet. You'll add 3/4 of a teaspoon of rennet. When 105 Fahrenheit is reached, turn off the heat. And now you'll add the calcium chloride mixture to the milk. Mix it through for 1 minute. And now the rennet. Mix it through for 1 minute. Cover the pot and let the milk rest for 30 minutes. While the milk is coagulating, I'll bring in our German expert. The video's a little shaky, but the footage is very sweet. Enjoy. This is my friend Carl, and he is a certified German. That's Carl with a K, if you must know. And Carl, I would like to ask you, how is it that we really pronounce the word butter cheese? How do we say that in German?
The right pronunciation would be Butterkase.
Butterkase. Butterkase.
Yeah, Käse.
Käse. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah,
you heard it from him.
welcome.
It's time to cut the curds. This is my favorite part next to actually eating the cheese. This is interesting. I have whey that is sitting on the top. I've never seen this before. I think it's because I heated the milk before I put in the rennet. But when I reach down and do a cut, that is absolutely a clean break. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these curds. I'll cut them into 1/2 inch cubes, first vertically and then horizontally. Now cover the pot and let the curds sink to the bottom for 10 minutes. While the curds are sinking to the bottom of the pot, heat a gallon of non-chlorinated water to 110 degrees. It's time to take 50% of the whey out of this pot. I like to save the whey from cheese making for my protein shakes in the morning. There are really so many uses for this whey. You can use it to feed your chickens. When it's diluted, you can put it on your tomato plants. You can use it to make whey caramel. That's really delicious. And you can use it to make ricotta. The 50% of whey is just a guesstimate. And when you think that you have removed about 50% of the whey, it's time to replace the whey with water. I think I'm going to use it all. This is where you may need to make a little adjustments. You want this to be at 105 degrees. And I'm just a little over that, so I'm going to add a little bit of cool water. I hit my desired temperature. So now I'm going to stir for 45 minutes. But here's the good news. You just need to stir occasionally. I'm using a slightly modified recipe, loosely based on New England Cheesemaking Company's recipe. And this is the first time that I've heated the milk before I added the rennet. So it's interesting, and it's done some interesting things to the curds. That's kind of fun. Okay, 45 minutes. It's time to work quickly. Make sure your hands are washed well and your setup is ready to go. A quick final check of the temperature after 45 minutes shows that the milk is just where I want it to be, right at about 105 degrees. Perfect. Pour the whey into a tight weave colander. I'll use the diluted whey on my tomato plants. and fill the mold with the curds. Work very quickly. You want that internal temperature to stay around 105 for a while. Wrap up the curds and place the follower on top. Pull the press together and place a 5-pound weight on top. You'll press this at 5 pounds for 4 hours, but here's the trick. You're going to dismantle the press and flip it every 30 minutes for these 4 hours. So, a total of 7 flips. Now here's the tricky part. This cheese has to maintain a temperature of between 80 and 90 degrees for the duration of 6 hours total. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a towel handy, and I'm going to put in a pan of hot water very close to the press. I just boiled it. And I have a heating pad that is also very hot. And now I'm going to insulate it all with a towel. Don't worry if it gets wet, it's not a big deal. Your whole goal here is to keep this between 80 and 90 degrees for a long time. And you'll want to work out something that works best for you. This seems to work well for me. Right now my temperature of my kitchen is about 72, so I don't have that far to go to get to 80. Use the thermometer to monitor the temperature. See you in 30 minutes. It's time for the first 30-minute flip, and I see somebody is where she shouldn't be.
I'm hiding.
Excuse me.
You
Down.
can't see me.
Come on. Down you go.
I don't want to.
Oh gosh. Come on.
Fine.
Thank you. I adjusted my setup just a little bit, and I added an extra towel because I wasn't satisfied where the temperature was. This worked well, and I added 2 hot water bottles. The temperature is at a near perfect 90 degrees. So it's working. Work quickly here. You don't have a lot of time to waste. Wow, I'm surprised. This is coming along better than I expected. Excellent. All right, take off the cheesecloth. Yep, that's coming along beautifully. Very nice. Get a new one. Place it back in the mold. Followers on. Press assembled. These are still pretty hot, so I'm going to use them. Oh, almost forgot the weight. Oh, shoot. Oh, hope it's okay. Almost forgot my bean bag that was heating. All right. 1 flip down, 6 more to go. I'm not going to film the other 6. Just keep flipping every 30 minutes. Make sure it stays between 80 and 90 degrees. We'll see you in a few hours for the second press. Sometimes you just need to do this cheese flipping business between things in your life. So I was teaching a karate class and I was flipping in between classes. But we are at the end of the 4-hour press. So let's see what we have. And now what I'll do is I'll pull it out, see what we have. Oh man. Ooh. That is a nice looking cheese so far. Take a look. That's great. Little ridge, but that's very good. So now I'm going to remove the cheesecloth. If it's sticking to the cheese, just pull a little slower because you don't want to rip a piece off of the cheese. It smells delicious. It smells like cheese. Okay, it's looking good. You still want to work fairly quickly because the goal is to keep this whole business at between 80 and 90 degrees for another 2 hours. So here's what I'll do now. Put the cheese back in, but this time without the cheesecloth because you see what the cheesecloth did? It made some wrinkles. So now my hope is that this last press will smooth those out. Nice. Follower on. Extra followers on. Press back together. Hot water applied. They're still pretty warm because I just heated them up on the last flip. And this doesn't feel very warm, so I'm going to quickly heat it up in the microwave. This bag is just a heating pad. It's got rice in it. And it did occur to me that it probably weighs about 2 pounds. So I guess technically today I've been pressing at maybe closer to 7 pounds, but I don't think it matters much. I think it's close enough. And I'd rather have a little more weight and get the heat right here because I think it has really made a difference in being able to maintain this 90-degree temperature. So now your last press, that's your second press, is for 2 hours with 5 pounds. Time to take the cheese out of the press. Pretty excited because I think this is going to be an amazing tasting cheese. And look at that. That is just incredible. It's gorgeous. The shape is great. It's very even. This is going to be one awesome cheese. The next step is to allow it to rest at room temperature overnight, or 12 hours. So I'm just using my aging container that I use for other cheeses, And to place the cheese in the aging container. And I'm just going to leave the lid about halfway and allow it to rest overnight. This process started at noon today and is completely finished with the press by 10 p.m. Not bad. And I think this cheese is going to be worth it. We'll see you in the morning. It's time to brine the cheese.
You're it.
You'll take the cheese out of its resting area and you'll place it in an 18% brine solution. And that's about 24 ounces of salt with about 128 ounces of water, and that'll give you your approximately 18%. Place a follower on top to make sure the cheese is completely submerged. I add a little bit of calcium chloride to it to make sure that the calcium doesn't leak out of the cheese during the brining process. Brine this for 4 hours. Flip it halfway at the 2-hour mark. Make sure that the cheese and the brine is the same temperature when you add the cheese. Okay, we'll see you in 4 hours. Air dry the cheese at room temperature for 1 to 2 days or until it's completely dry to the touch. Flip it over every 12 hours to ensure even drying. Vacuum seal the cheese and label it with the date. Age the cheese in the cave for 4 weeks at 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, the day has come to try the butter cheese, or butterkase, and it is 4 weeks and 1 day old, so I think it's a perfect time to give it a try. I've been looking forward to this. Here's a little hint. Always taste your cheeses at room temperature. They taste much better at that temperature rather than coming straight from a refrigerator. All right, let's crack open this cheese. I'm so excited. What I really want to know is if this cheese will live up to its name. I'm hoping it's going to be mild, creamy, and buttery. This cheese is really an everyday cheese in Germany, a table cheese, if you will. And it's supposed to be mild, creamy. I've never had butter cheese before, but I'm hoping it's going to be amazing. Smells good. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. Oh. Man, that made my mouth water. All right, here, take a look. Isn't that beautiful? What I really want to know is if it will slice. So I'm going to give that a try. Oh yeah, look at that. Isn't that nice? Does it smell good? Isn't that beautiful? Now you may be wondering about these holes. It's kind of pretty. They're not holes like Swiss. These are mechanical holes. That happens when the curds don't quite press together, and it's not a big deal. It just means that this cheese is special just on its own.
I'm ready for the taste test.
You want to try some?
Yes.
You do? All right, here you go. That's fantastic. All right, let's give it a try.
It smells good. Yum.
Oh yeah. Mild, smooth and creamy. Maybe just a little bit of tang at the end, but not much. Salt level is nice. Okay, I will make this cheese again. This is just a great everyday cheese. I think it would be good on grilled cheese, and I'll bet it'll melt. In fact, let's do a melt test. I want to see if it melts. Yep, take a look at that. Ooey gooey melty. Perfect for a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't know if you have one of these, but if you don't, you should get one. These things slice like a dream. We've had ours for years, and I'll put a link in the description box. It's an affiliate link, which means if you make a purchase, I make a commission. But as you can see, it just slices so easily, and our family couldn't do without our cheese slicer. We love it. It's called a cheese plane. This cheese is a winner for sure. It's mild, creamy, a little unctuous because it's a little fatty. The salt level is just right. This is a crowd pleaser. I don't think anyone would turn their nose up at this cheese. It really is delightful. Well, thanks so much for watching. We appreciate your support.
We'll see you next time.
And we will see you in the next video.